I'm pregnant. And the father of my baby? He wants to go back to his wife. They're trying to turn this into some kind of surrogate situation and take the baby from me. How could this be happening? I'm 29, and this entire mess is unfolding like a nightmare. I dated Joe, 30, for 3 months, that's it, before he left me to return to his ex, Kim, 30. And then, just when I thought I was trying to move on, I found out I was pregnant. At 24 weeks now, I told Joe, and his reaction was ecstatic? Confused, but I guess that's how you describe it. Turns out his girlfriend, Kim, had fertility issues. She couldn't get pregnant naturally, and Joe, who's always dreamed of being a dad, thought this was his chance. But here's the thing, getting back together was never an option for either of us. Still, with Kim in the picture, things were about to get way more complicated. It all started with the first appointment. Thanks to COVID-19, Joe was only allowed to attend that one because of the restrictions. We found out it was twins. Twins. Imagine that, twins. Joe was happy, but I could feel it building in me, this discomfort, this fear that something wasn't right. When he told Kim about it, she completely lost it. A mental breakdown about her infertility. And then she demanded to meet me. Meet me? I didn't even know what to expect. Kim welcomed me into their home, her voice trembling as she told me she wanted to be involved in my pregnancy. She wasn't just going to sit on the sidelines, she would be the children's stepmother, she insisted. And then it started. Her demands. She wanted me to have a home birth. She wanted me to formula feed. Why? So that she could have the babies half the week. She said she wanted one boy and one girl, and she wanted them to call her Mama. Mama. I couldn't believe it. She said they'd call me Mommy. This was too much, too fast. I shut it all down. No. No, no, no. I would make the best choices for my children and my body, and I walked out. But it didn't stop there. Kim started texting me every day, pestering me about my eating habits, my exercise, even complaining about how her job wouldn't let her take maternity leave. At a genetics counseling appointment, she barged in and took over the entire session, talking about her family history that was completely irrelevant to me. When it was time for my 20-week scan, I could only bring one person with me. Joe suggested I take Kim, but there was no way I was doing that. I refused. So Joe went instead, and when he found out the gender, I wanted to keep it a surprise for me, so we could have a gender reveal party. But then, it hit me. Kim posted about it. She announced on social media that they were expecting twins, the non-traditional way. It felt like a slap in the face, but I held my tongue. Then, she threw her own gender reveal party. I wasn't even invited. And, as if that wasn't enough, she announced she was having a baby shower. A baby shower. For my babies. That was the final straw. I commented on her post, telling her to stop treating me like a surrogate. The kids weren't hers, and Joe didn't have any claim over them until they were born. I called Joe and made it crystal clear, I wouldn't see either of them until we went to family court. My mother would be my birthing partner, not Kim. But then, the harassment really started. Kim and some of her friends and family called me exploitive, accused me of taking advantage of the situation. Her mother even had the audacity to call me and demand that I give one of my babies to her. Like this is some twisted version of the Parent Trap. I was terrified. I knew I needed to get a lawyer, and fast. That Friday, after everything had escalated, I went to the police. They said there was nothing they could do yet, because no crime had been committed. But then, in a moment of clarity, I realized, if I left my state, I could escape the jurisdiction, avoid anything they might try to pull. So I did it. I left. But of course, they followed me. Kim came to my job, vandalized my car, and broke office windows. And here's the kicker, I work with kids. So now, not only is she facing charges for criminal damage and trespassing, but also child endangerment. Finally, some justice. And as for Joe? If he's behind all this, Kim had no idea. She's been screaming at me, accusing me of stealing her life. But let me tell you, this is my life. And my babies aren't hers. Small update, I've filed for orders of protection against both Joe and Kim. I'm out of state now, but they're still harassing me. They think they have some sort of power over me, but I've gathered enough evidence to press charges in my new state. And I'll be pursuing a restraining order here too. This fight isn't over. Not by a long shot. I can't believe what I was hearing. I jokingly asked, "Oh, you mean but stuff," and she looked me dead in the eye, dead serious, and said, "Well, that, and the women's clothing." My jaw practically hit the floor. What? How was that even possible? She went on to tell me a story that left me stunned. The night before their wedding, they were getting intimate, and suddenly, she reached down to feel something unexpected, lacy women's underwear. She was completely shocked, and rightfully so. I mean, what would you do in that situation? She thought it was some kind of sick joke, especially since they'd been together for a while and this had never happened before. But when she confronted him, his response was chillingly casual. He said, "I thought it might turn you on." And that was it. No apology, no explanation, just a matter-of-fact statement. But the story didn't end there, no. Flash forward to my husband as a kid, back in grade school. He was working on a school project and needed to print some stuff, so my mother-in-law took out the family laptop. She was expecting something normal, but instead, she found pictures of naked women sprawled out on hotel beds. Can you even imagine? When Phil got home, she questioned him, and his response. It was all a joke. He said he'd gone to a conference with his buddies, and they thought it would be funny. A joke. Who would believe that? She didn't, of course. But things were already too complicated, their life savings were wrapped up in their house, and they couldn't just walk away. Not long after, while cleaning out their bedroom closet, she found a box she didn't recognize. When she opened it, her worst fears were confirmed. Inside were pictures of Phil dressed in women's clothing, some of them in her clothes. She confronted him, and of course, he promised it would never happen again. But it didn't stop there. Then came the morning when my mother-in-law and her son stumbled upon Phil, in women's clothing, right there in their own backyard. Can you even process that? And when they asked him about it, he simply said, "We don't have to tell Mommy about this, right?" And they didn't, not until they were teenagers. This whole situation, the lying, the secrecy, it just kept escalating. And then there was the dumpster. My mother-in-law would see him at the Kroger near the dumpsters, throwing things away. Was he hiding something? What could it possibly be? And that burner phone, I don't know how she didn't put it all together. But when she tried to talk to him, tried to make him see reason, the situation turned violent. What kind of person behaves like that? This behavior just spiraled. He started leaving for long periods, sometimes even overnight. She had to repeatedly tell him that she didn't care what he did, as long as he didn't walk out of his kids' lives. How could he be so selfish? To make matters worse, one day, my mother-in-law and a close family friend, who knew about the situation, tried to confront Phil. The friend's husband sat down with him, privately, and told Phil, "I just don't want responsibility anymore." That was it. That was his response. I can't even imagine what it must have been like to hear that. So, to distract herself from this nightmare, my mother-in-law took the kids on a trip to California. But when she came home, the trash had been taken out, except for one piece of paper, a schedule. It was a day plan, and from the looks of it, it was for a date. And then, when she checked their joint bank account, it was completely drained. He'd been using their debit card to take women on dates. My mother-in-law, understandably, demanded he give her the debit card and open a separate bank account. But he refused. How could he be so arrogant, so uncaring? She grabbed the family laptop, and that's when he lost it. He flipped out. Fearing his reaction, she grabbed the kids and ran to a neighbor's house. that was the final straw. The divorce came not long after. It didn't stop there. Phil barely wanted any custody of the kids. She had to convince him to at least do weekends once a month. And then he remarried, only to get divorced again 5 years later. Why? Cheating, once again. He was sending emails to his second wife, saying how he didn't want to go home. The pattern never ends. Now, here we are. Phil is about to marry someone younger than my husband and me. Younger. How does that feel, knowing that someone your age is now marrying a younger woman? I mean, I've dated men older than her. And now, he's demanding that we attend his wedding, a destination wedding, mind you, a 3-day trip. He wants us to come, pay our own way, and bring our 12-year-old son. His fiancée, who's younger than us, has this superiority complex that's truly unsettling. What is it with these people? And here's the kicker, family, including my mother-in-law, are now calling and texting, trying to guilt us into going. Phil will be heartbroken if his son isn't at the wedding, they say. But here's the thing, my husband doesn't want to go, and frankly, we can't afford it. I was just laid off, and we've got a mortgage to worry about. Why does no one seem to care about what my husband went through? Why is no one acknowledging the trauma he experienced? Why do they think he should just move on from everything? And then there's Phil's fiancée. Does she know about the cross-dressing? I'm not sure. But honestly, I don't think it's my place to tell her. But here's the thing, I will never let our son spend the night around him. It's not just the women's clothing, it's the lies, the secrets, and the fact that we're all still left wondering if there's more he's hiding. How can anyone trust someone like that?